I call to order a meeting of the Board of Trustees of the McAllen Independent School District today, October the 9th, 2018. We are meeting at 5 o'clock at the boardroom of the Administration Building of the McAllen Independent School District at 2000 North 23rd Street. At this meeting, there may be discussion and action by the board on the items and the subjects listed as follows. Present your agenda. First item of business is to recess to closed session. The Board of Trustees may go into closed session pursuant to sections 551.071, 551.072, and 551.074 of the Texas Government Code to discuss the following items. A, human resource recommendations for the year 2018-2019. Human resource employee resignations for the school year 2018-2019. C, summative evaluation of the superintendent. D, pending and/or potential litigation. And E, possible real estate acquisition. So at 5:02 p.m., we are recessing to closed session. If so, we get the doors, I appreciate it.
Natalie, do you mind turning it down?
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'd like to reconvene the regular meeting of the board at 5 o'clock this afternoon. It is 6 p.m. If you all will join me in standing, we're going to have the invocation by Trustee Saldivar, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance by Trustee Suarez.
Dear God, we have come together in your name to work for the good of our schools. Stay with us with your invisible presence and pour your spirit upon us. Make us use your gifts in a spirit of trust and guidance and a spirit of prudence and understanding, so that the children of our district may experience an abundance of learning, compassion, and peace. Let harmony reign among us, and let us keep our eyes ever fixed on you. In your holy name we pray. Amen.
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 Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you all. For the record, there was no action taken during our closed session. And I'd also like to welcome all of those viewers that are watching on their mobile devices, their computers, and/or their iPads. Next item of business this evening will be the superintendent's report, and I'll turn it over to Dr. Gonzalez.
Yes, sir. Very proud of the fact that we had the Let's Move McAllen Kids Marathon here recently, and it supports Goal 1 with regard to student achievement and student focus, and we have a short video that we'd like to share with the community and with our board.
Good morning. Let's wake up McAllen.
Today we have the Let's Move McAllen Kids Marathon, so we're excited to have so many people here today. It's very important because McAllen ISD and McAllen, Texas are committed to wellness, and this is a prime example of that commitment.
It seems like it was only yesterday when we started this event. We call it the Let's Move. We started Let's Move Pep Rally. And then it has evolved into the Let's Move McAllen Kids Marathon. They try to earn miles so that on January the 19th, we will have the grand finale, the final mile, that the kids were able to either walk or run a whole marathon.
So it's close to 4,000 kids that are here today, and that's just something special because it just shows the commitment that we have toward fitness and wellness and nutrition.
So we're real proud of the commitment that people are willing to come out on a Saturday and just have fun. You see all the smiles on the kids, especially when they finally get on the track. And then you had a great speaker, Germán Medrazo, his story as an Olympian. So it's win-win for everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Gonzalez. Any comments or questions from any of the board?
Mr. President, I would just like to, first of all, congratulate Coach Mario Reina and the hard work that the folks that have partnered up with him. They have their wrap-up meeting tomorrow, and, you know, I was unable to be there because I was at our TASB conference in Austin, but I always appreciate their hard work. And thanks to Germán Madrazo, who, if anybody has ever been on the running trail, whether it be early in the evening or late at night, he's out there running, he's training, and showed that even at his age, the goal to be an Olympian can be recognized. So it's a great man to have motivating our kids.
Thank you, trustee. Anyone else?
Just a quick comment, Dr. Gonzalez. I echo Trustee Fuentes. It was a great event. Last year, when we kicked off the kids marathon, some schools invited us to run a mile with them, invited people in the community, and they invited the mayor, for example, one school, whatever. I'll challenge your principals and y'all to do the same thing and invite us if we can help help some of these kids run a mile during the day or any other. You know, I'm up for it. It was great to see all those kids running and the parents supporting it. So anything we can do to help them reach their goal with 26 miles in the next few months, let us know how we can do to support you.
Thank you very much. We appreciate that.
I mean,
Oh, you can walk, run.
I'll cheer from the sidelines.
You can walk, run. No, you know what? But that's actually a really good point, though, because everyone thinks it's walking. It is also running. I mean, everyone thinks it's running. It's also a combination of walking and whatever it takes to do the 26 miles. Absolutely.
I may crawl at the end, but I'll be there.
At my
We will
age, I'm
definitely
walking
put
a
that
lot
challenge
too,
up.
so.
thank you all. Next item is recognitions or proclamations, and we have 3 this evening. I'd like to entertain a motion to approve items 7A, 7B, and 7C before we read and present the proclamations.
So move.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any comments or questions on these 3 items before we approve?
No, sir.
Thank you. All those in favor of the item signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries 7-0. We'll proceed with the reading. Dr. Gonzalez.
Yes, sir. Tonight, we are recognizing the proclamation of October as Dyslexia Awareness Month. And this month, Mrs. V will introduce the dyslexia team. Then trustee Sam Saldivar Jr. will read the proclamation. Ms. V.
Yes, sir. First, joining us tonight is Ms. Raquel Martinez, Interdisciplinary Content Dyslexia Coordinator for our district. Elizabeth Abram from Garza Elementary. Jeannie Buenteo from Bonham Elementary. Brenda Lopez Roosevelt Elementary. Marta Narvaez Seguin Elementary. Iris Ramos Seguin Elementary. Marisela Perez coming from Ben Milam Elementary. Evangeline Olson Gonzalez Elementary. Angela Gonzalez Houston Elementary. Juan Garcia Hendricks Elementary. Nora Garcia Wilson Elementary. And Hortensia Valdez Sanchez Elementary, our dyslexia teachers at our elementary campuses.
Step down to the first one, the first step right here, and board members will go behind you. Very good.
You gonna take the photo now?
Yes, sir.
We probably should read that proclamation first. Go ahead.
All right. Thank you. I have a copy. We're good. Good evening. This is a proclamation, State of Texas, County of Hidalgo, McAllen Independent School District. Whereas dyslexia is one of the most common learning disabilities affecting Texans, this lifelong disorder can be a detriment to a child's education or an adult's professional development in prohibiting interpretation of spoken and written language. Whereas individuals can be taught methods of learning that enables them to excel in school and work environments. The dedication and understanding of family, teachers, and coworkers can greatly help those with dyslexia achieve success. Whereas to raise awareness, October has been designated Dyslexia Awareness Month. It is vital to communicate the importance of an early diagnosis and to provide the necessary assistance and guidance to those affected. Now therefore, I, Sam Saldívar Jr., member of the Board of Trustees of the McAllen Independent School District, do hereby proclaim the month of October 2018 as Dyslexia Awareness Month. I call upon all residents and public schools to join in celebration of many achievements of people with disabilities and their continual contribution to our community and schools. It is hereby witness thereof on this 9th day of October, and it's also signed and attested by our board president, Daniel D. Vela. As a side note, dyslexia is a disorder present at birth and cannot be prevented or cured, but it can be managed with special instruction and support. Early intervention to address reading problems is important. In fact, dyslexia is an unexpected difficulty in reading in an individual who has the intelligence to be as much better a reader. While people with dyslexia are slow readers, they often, paradoxically, are very fast and creative thinkers with strong reasoning abilities. A supportive environment that promotes educational and professional progress enables dyslexia individuals to flourish and reach their full potential. Such an environment embraces the use of word dyslexia, promotes a clear and scientifically valid understanding of dyslexia, and provides proper supports and accommodations, including allowing the use of assistive technologies. A supportive work culture understands and recognizes that people who are dyslexia often work much harder and longer than their peers, provided they are given that opportunity. The dyslexia-friendly environment which we have here at McAllen ISD, thanks to each and every one of you and your hard work each and every day, should extend from elementary, middle, and high school on through college and into the workplace. We appreciate what you do each and every day, and we wish you continued success. Our children depend on you. Thank you.
Pretty good. All right, big smiles, everyone. 1, 2, 3. One more. 1, 2, 3.
Thank you.
Great job.
Yes, sir. Next, we have item 7B. Governor Abbott signed a proclamation on September 11, 2018 to proclaim October as Principals Month. This evening, Mrs. Bridget V. will introduce our outstanding principals, and Trustee Larry Esparza will read the proclamation. Mrs. V.
So our first principal with us tonight from Alvarez Elementary, Mr. Juan Montes. Jessica Rodriguez, principal of Castañeda Elementary. Carlos Mora, principal of Escandon Elementary. Nancy Valenzuela, principal Garza Elementary. Cristina Hernandez, principal Gonzalez Elementary. Sandra Salinas, principal Hendricks Elementary. Miguel Herrera, interim principal Jackson Elementary. Dr. Sandra Pitchford, principal McAuliffe Elementary. Christian Quintanilla, principal Milam Elementary. Albert Idlas, principal of Bettis Elementary. Clarissa Partida, principal Rayburn Elementary. Gerardo Gonzalez, principal Roosevelt Elementary. Cynthia Rodriguez, principal Sanchez Elementary. Juan Navarez, principal of Seguin Elementary. Alfredo Gutierrez Jr., principal Brown Middle School. Melvin Bimford, principal of Dr. Rodney Cathy Middle School. Philip Grossweiler, principal of Alonso de Leon Middle School. Laura Williams, principal of Michael Fossum Middle School. Brian McClinney, principal of Homer J. Morris Middle School. Efraín Amaya, principal of William Travis Middle School. Mr. Albert Canales, Principal, McAllen High School. Pedro Alvarez Jr., Principal, Memorial High School. Monica Kaufman, Principal of James Nicky Rowe High School. Cindy Peña, Principal of Lamar Academy. Fernando X. Gutierrez, Principal, Instruction and Guidance Center.
Everyone step down one step. Board members will go behind you guys.
We're good. Yeah.
Thank you all for being here. I know it's hard to come back after a 3-day weekend and then show up for a board meeting. This is a group that I think probably most of us feared when we were in school. I later became a part of that group and working as an assistant principal for many years. And it's a tough job, and we appreciate everything you do and all the long hours that you spend with our kids. There's no amount of money in the world that'll cover your time spent with our children, but we truly appreciate everything you do for them. I have a proclamation that I'd like to read. It's State of Texas, County of Hidalgo, McAllen Independent School District. Whereas principals as school leaders are entrusted with our most valuable resource, our next generation of leaders and contributors. These students are our promise for the future, and it is critical that they receive a rigorous and well-rounded education. And whereas principals set the academic tone for their schools and work collaboratively with teachers to maintain high curriculum standards, develop mission statements, and set performance objectives. And whereas the National Association of Elementary School Principals and the National Association of Secondary School Principals, joined by their state affiliates, have designated the month of October as a time to recognize the contributions of elementary, middle, and high school principals. And whereas we encourage all Texans to recognize the important role principals play in ensuring that every child has access to a high-quality education. Now, therefore, I, Larry Esparza, Board of Trustees of the McAllen Independent School District, do hereby proclaim the month of October as National Principals Month. In witness whereof, I hereunto set my hand and cause the seal of the McAllen Independent School District to be affixed on this 9th day of October, 2018, and it's attested to by Sam Salivad, Board Secretary. Again, thank you for everything that you do for our children. Thank you for everything that you do for our school district. There's no amount of money that can reward you for all the time and effort and the love and dedication you have for your job and for our children. So again, thank you from the bottom of our hearts.
Before we snap our picture, I did want to take this opportunity to once again, on behalf of the district and our board, thank our principals. This is a key group that led our district toward the A rating. Round of applause for the A that we earned together as a team. Also, the post-secondary readiness distinction and a driving force behind the financial integrity rating system of Texas. So all those things don't go unnoticed, and we couldn't do it without this group right here. So very, very proud of our principals. And once again, thank you for your effort. And to echo Trustee Esparza's perspective, you all play a very, very key role in our most precious resource, our children. So thank you.
All right, great job, guys.
Good job. I appreciate you.
Thank you. Y'all are staying for the regular meeting? Y'all are staying?
Okay, I'll send you a little bit.
Appreciate your work. The king.
On Saturday. Thank you.
Our next agenda item is 7C, approval of proclamation of National School Lunch Week. The week of October 15th through 19th, 2018 is recognized nationally as National School Lunch Week. McAllen ISD serves 2.9 million lunches to students and visitors in 2017-2018. Ms. V will introduce the 2017-2018 cafeteria managers who play a key role in our success. Are also our field supervisors and our assistant directors for the Child Nutrition Services. And then our board president, Mr. Daniel Vela, will read the proclamation.
All right, joining us tonight is Assistant Director of Food Services, and that's Ms. Myra Lopez. Aida Alfaro, Field Supervisor. Lizette Gonzalez, Hendricks Elementary Manager. Martha Maldonado, McCullough Elementary Manager. Lori Lopez, Memorial High School Manager. And Jose Valdez, Fossum Middle School Manager.
Thank you all. Thank you. Proclamation of the State of Texas, County of Hidalgo, the McAllen Independent School District. Whereas the National School Lunch Program has served our nation for more than 70 years through advanced practices and nutrition education, this program has enabled more than 21,000 students daily to have access to safe, balanced, and no-charge meals at school. We recognize the vital importance of this program, and we recommit to serving meals that will contribute to the health and well-being of a new generation. And whereas to provide more fruits, vegetables, and other nutritious foods for school meals, the McAllen Independent School District participates in the USDA Farm to School program that enables the district to partner with local farmers to provide quality foods on school menus, to increase markets for local farms, and to teach young people more about the source of their foods. And whereas we recognize the talent and dedication of all food service professionals, educators, program administrators, and parents who help ensure that our students have the healthy food necessary to grow and succeed. Now, therefore, I, Daniel D. Vela, President of the Board of Trustees of the McAllen Independent School District, do hereby proclaim the week of October 15th through 19th, the year 2018, as National School Lunch Week. I call upon all residents to join the dedicated individuals who administer the National School Lunch Program in appropriate activities that support the health and well-being of our children, and to become aware of their own nutrition habits in hopes of achieving a more healthful citizenry for today and for the future. In witness whereof I hereunto set my hand and have caused the seal of the McAllen Independent School District to be affixed on this 9th day of October 2018. Daniel D. Vela, President of the School Board of Trustees, attested to by Sam Saldivar Jr., Secretary to the Board of Trustees.
Thanks. Yeah.
Thank you all very much. Next item on this evening's agenda, item number 8, board members, board committees, superintendent, and district reports. Dr. Gonzalez. I'm sorry.
Board reports,
I can
sir.
call them out. Number 1, instructional services briefing. Our chair is trustee Sam Saldivar Jr. Trustee.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. President. Last Thursday, October the 4th at 8:30 a.m., Trustee Alvarado and I met with our Assistant Superintendent, Dr. Ibarra, to discuss 4 items that potentially were going to be on the agenda. 3 of them did make it for tonight's agenda. It's 7A, 12A, and 8B2. And so there'll be further discussion during our meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, trustee. Item number 2 is human resources briefing. Our chair of that committee is trustee Debbie Aliceda.
No reports.
Thank you, trustee. Number 3, district operations briefing. Our chair is trustee Suarez.
Thank you, Mr. President. We have 6 items on the agenda, one of which was already the proclamation for the National School Lunch Week. The other items will be discussed more in full detail when we get to them.
Thank you, trustee Suarez. And our 4th and final is business operations briefing. Our chair is trustee Larry Esparza.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. Farina met with Mrs. Richards on Friday, and I spoke to her today. There's 4 items on the agenda. One is the monthly investment report for the month of August 2018, report regarding the taxes collected for the month of August 2018, and 2 other items up for approval tonight regarding bids. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, trustee Esparza.
Before you move on, Mr. President, I'd like to make a motion to move up item 11C1 is the approval of the donation to Homer Morris Middle School.
It's been moved that we reorganize the agenda to move up item number 11
Second.
and seconded. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. We will reorganize and move up item number 11, right? 11C1.
Yes, sir.
Dr. Gonzalez.
Yes, sir. This is for the approval of the monetary donation from Friels Orthodontics to Homer J. Morris Middle School. And this evening, we're pleased to recognize Dr. and Mrs. Friels for their donation to Morris Middle School. Mr. Trevino and Mr. McClenny will introduce our special guests.
I don't think they made it.
They're not here?
But we have the principal here.
The floor is yours, and Mr. McClenny.
Yeah, I'm representing them.
You have to be, yes, so we can hear.
It snuck up on you. They pulled a fast one.
Yeah, I'm here to represent Dr. Friels and Miss Friels. They great parents, and they asked me to represent them tonight on their donation. So they appreciate everything our school does and McAllen ISD does, and just a great family.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. We accept the monetary donation from the Friels family. Before I open it up, I please, on behalf of the board, give them our thanks and appreciation for what they do. I know they're involved
Yes, sir.
in a lot of activities
Yes,
and
sir.
support, and they're very active in all kinds of parent organizations, and we appreciate what they do, and they're certainly model parents for our
Yes.
school district.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Any questions or comments on the item?
Just thank them on behalf of the board also. Are these I was looking at the pictures. Are they banners or what are they?
They're going to be wraps that go into locker rooms. They're going to wrap the doors in
Okay.
the athletic area, and the other stuff is also athletic equipment.
Okay.
Dr. Friel's son is playing 7th grade football, so he wanted to help out the football program and the athletic program and the total program actually. So because some of the things are going to help the total program.
Any other comments or questions? All those in favor of the item signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries 7-0. Thank you, Dr. McKinney, and
Yes, sir.
appreciate it.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Back to the regular agenda, we will go to district reports. B, Dr. Gonzalez.
Yes, sir. B1 is report regarding dress code. Ms. V will present information regarding the McAllen ISD dress code. This item is for information purposes only. Mrs. V.
Yes, good evening, board. And what we have first is, just trying to project. And the McAllen Independent School District dress code is legal sources regarding the dress code that I consulted. Texas Education Code, there is nothing mentioned of dress code in Texas Education Code. Texas Administrative Code, nothing mentioned. McAllen ISD Board Policy, yes, it's acknowledged in FNCA, FMH, which I'll give more detail. McAllen ISD Administrative Regulation, which I know you all know is how the legal policy is executed. So that is mentioned on page 16 of Student Code of Conduct, and also another administrative regulation handbook, which is a student handbook, and acknowledged on page 41. Also, the actual dress code is on exhibit as a web page under the parent resources, and I've included that in the packet. So to give an overview over the McAllen ISD policy FMH, this is legal policy, which we have a TASB consulting update that comes to us, and these are just mandates. Dress for the ceremony. The superintendent shall develop and enforce for graduation ceremony stricter dress and grooming standards than the district's dress code standards for a school day, and may condition participation in the graduation ceremony on adherence to those standards. And so that legal policy is discussing a higher than dress code than the normal school day. A student who violates the dress and grooming standards shall be removed from participation in the graduation ceremony. On McAllen ISD policy FNCA, this is also in a legal format, and also local has added. On our legal, it's regarding the uniforms. If the board determines that requiring school uniforms would improve the learning environment at a school in the district, the board may adopt rules that require students at the school to wear school uniforms. Students shall wear uniforms beginning on the 90th day after the date on which the board adopts the rule. On our local policy, FNCA, the purpose, the district's dress code is established to instill discipline, prevent disruption, avoid safety hazards, and teach respect for authority. General guidelines: students shall be dressed and groomed in a manner that is clean and neat, and that will not be a health or safety hazard to themselves or others. School uniforms. In accordance with the law, parents and students shall be notified of the adoption of the uniform rule or any change in a uniform rule at least 90 days prior to the effective date of such rule or change. The only campuses that we have at this point, it's been principal's discretion to lead that effort, and the 3 campuses that we have participating in uniforms are Travis Middle School, Brown Middle School, and Jackson Elementary. On the Student Code of Conduct, which is administrative regulation on one of the documents of how we're executing the legal and local policy, on page 16, level 1 infraction, violating the dress code, is the 6th item listed. Consequences are specified in the Code of Conduct, a range of consequences, and it's at the administrator's discretion on which consequence is enacted. Also, another format on the student handbook, the 2018-19 student handbook, dress and grooming, page 41, dress code is reflected again. The district's dress code is established to teach grooming and hygiene, prevent disruption, minimize safety hazards. Students and parents may determine a student's personal dress and grooming standards provided that they comply with the following: grooming or clothing that is lewd, offensive, vulgar, or obscene, and/or advertises or depicts tobacco products, alcohol beverages, drugs, or any other substances prohibited under FNCF legal, and also in the local policy. If the principal determines that a student's grooming or clothing violates the school's dress code, the student will be given an opportunity to correct the problem at school. If not corrected, the student may be assigned to in-school suspension for the remainder of the day until the problem is corrected, or until a parent or designee brings an acceptable change of clothing to the school. Repeated offenses may result in more serious disciplinary action in accordance with the Student Code of Conduct. The administrative practice in the schools, some of the high school principals are here, and middle school, the whole goal is that instruction not be interrupted. So in following the legal and local policy and administrative regulations, the whole goal is that this be remedied quickly. So some of the practices are, if students are in violation, they're brought to the office. And these are reported like by the teacher. They'll do teacher check. And so the teachers will report to the principal in some manner that someone's out of compliance on the dress code. And so administrator works with the student to resolve issue quickly to minimize loss of instructional time. Student either has a change of clothing or borrows some from a friend. There's layers of the spirit shirts, warm-up bottoms, many attempts to try and layer them up if they don't have another change of clothes. Campus has backup clothing. Also, there's a call home for backup clothing to be delivered from the parents. And the last resort is to separate them from the instruction of the classroom and place them in OCS. While student is not in compliance, then the student is not allowed to attend class. If the clothes are brought during the student's lunchtime, then the student is allowed to finish eating, change, then is given a pass to class. And also, for you are the web pages of the school dress code. This is on our website under parent resources, and was written maybe about 5-6 years ago with pictures on how it looks. It's very subjective. Like the words say one thing and then the subjective on how it's executed. So those are the pictures to help that subjectivity. And that is a summary of dress code administrative regulation executed in McAllen ISD, and if you have any questions, I'll be glad to answer.
Thank you, Ms. B.
I do.
Trustee Alvarado.
Thank you, Mr. President. Just some clarifications for
Yes, sir.
myself. When was the last time that our dress code was updated?
6 years.
About 6 years ago, Trustee Alvarado,
About 6 years ago?
approximately, maybe a little bit longer.
Okay. And prior to that, I think it was probably, about 10 years ago, we were discussing uniforms for...
During the update, a couple of years prior to that, uniforms were a topic of
Right.
consideration.
So we looked at that again. How often do we look at our dress code as far as updating it? Is it something we just tend to, as needed?
Well, one of the things right now is we believe that we have a solid dress code in place. The issue that we have is enforcing it consistently across the district, so that's where we need to get better. I think we can look at it. It's that time again, 6 years have passed, so every 5-6 years it'd be good to look at. But in reviewing the dress code right now, it's not a matter of the standard, it's a matter of the implementation with consistency, so that's something that we're working on.
Well, I guess I'm bringing it up, I was a little surprised to learn some of our surrounding districts actually have a stricter code than we do, and they don't have the problems of implementation that we do. For example, some of our neighboring schools don't allow facial hair at all.
Right.
And ours says, maybe, or what have you. So I guess, I'm gonna steal his term, not buying and selling on this one. Maybe it's time that we have some more input from community, from business community, from parents, just to see, are we along on the right track? I know I used to think that this is important for college, but after visiting my college, my daughters in college, there is no dress code there. So, but I think a more of an input from the business community might be appropriate. The other question I had is, I noticed that Travis and some of these other schools have a voluntary program. It's a voluntary program, right? It's not mandatory?
Principal's discretion, and then within the code tells you that there has to be ample 90 days prior to advertise it.
Well, it says board approval, so that's why I'm trying to clarify. We don't have a school that's a mandatory school uniform.
What we're saying is we give the principals the discretion to have a uniform. Once
Right.
they have a uniform policy in place or regulation at their campus in place, then they have systems in place to make sure that every kid is following it.
But it's a voluntary, because if it's not a voluntary, the only thing I'm reading this, it does say that it needs board approval on one of our policies. So I'm just bringing that up because I'm just concerned that I don't think the board has ever approved any of the formal, because then there's some other issues. If you make it a mandatory, then if a child doesn't have access to school uniforms, then the district becomes liable to it. So it's on there, right, Sam? I lost it.
Yes, sir.
I see what you're saying. What you're saying is if a campus makes the decision to go in that route, then they will come to the board and get it approved by
Right,
the
so
board.
it's
I
just a
got you.
voluntary, right?
Yes.
So that's, I just want to clarify, it's,
Actually, for
Actually, I think-
Jackson, we're remembering that Jackson did come to the board for
Back in
approval.
2012,
So we
we
have
did
one
request.
Travis
And
also
Brown.
came to the board.
Travis
prior.
also, and Brown.
I was at Travis during the implementation initially.
so everybody is in uniform when we go to that school? Interesting, okay.
And I know that there's attempts because of financial need, so this is where the parents help with
Right.
the shirts, and they try to help out with that.
And then
That's part of the
there's
fundraising.
Academy, for instance, provides shirts to the campuses that have mandatory uniforms. So we do get support from the community, and those shirts go to those families that are in need.
Okay, this is prior to myself, or being on the board, so I wasn't familiar with that, so, that's good information, no. I think the other question I had, I've heard consistently from parents, and it goes to the part of enforcing it. A lot of times the parents get a little frustrated, and it's happened, to myself too, with my kids, that sometimes they don't adhere to, whatever it is, and then you get called and you have to go pick them up and bring them home. I think the question that I run into is what's being done, and again, I'm not buying or selling, I'm just giving you the feedback I've heard, is the parents don't have an issue if their child is not in compliance. It tends to run into more of an issues when it happens later in the school, later in the day, and I tried to explain to parents it just depends. If a parent, if a teacher or someone sees a child at 11 o'clock, post 8 o'clock, then that's when you get the phone call. But I guess, one thing that someone has asked me, and I don't know the answer, so that's why I'm bringing it up, is there, in the morning, is there a full force of staff, from anybody who doesn't have a class, that's walking the hallways, and they're looking for this? Because I think parents are trying to get to the point where if you're gonna call me, at least call me in the morning, but as the day goes, it's a little frustrating to get the call in the afternoon. So I guess that's just a point, it's not really a question. It just wanted to tell you that's something I've heard consistently, and since we're on this, I thought I'd just bring it up.
Yes, sir.
That's all I have, Mr.
Thank
President.
you, Trustee. Trustee Suarez.
I'm going to echo some of the things that Trustee Alvarado said, but I want to first talk a little bit about the dress code, because since being on the board, I've been an advocate of enforcing the dress code. I think that it's no secret to all of us that this dress code is a little bit outdated, in the sense that I would suggest to the superintendent and administration to perhaps get some business leaders, get some students, get some teachers involved in a roundtable and review this dress code. And when doing that, I say this because I was reading it, and I visited a couple of high schools, well, all three of our high schools, and even in the IB campus. And I noticed some things. For example, I noticed that kids wear flip-flops. And so, do I want my kid out of instructional time because she or he is wearing flip-flops? And is that a distraction to the class? And one administrator might believe that it is, but one might say, well, no, it's not a distraction. But at the same time, there's a kid that's not in instructional time because he or she is wearing flip-flops. And if the shorts are an inch above the knee, is that a distraction to class time? And in all fairness, the administrator is trying to put in or enforce the dress code, but there's no uniform enforcement going on. So what's happening in one high school is not happening at another high school. What's happening at one middle school is not happening at another middle school. And when we have a dress code, it's not to be based on interpretation. It's either black or white. Either it fits a description or it doesn't. Because I think that when it becomes to the discretion of a person, what one person might feel is appropriate, the other administrator might feel that it's not appropriate. And I don't think it's fair to the student, I don't think it's fair to the parent, and most importantly, I don't think it's fair to the administration. Because I think we all know that in a high school, for example, there's 2,300 kids, and there's 5 people enforcing. And so then it goes back to, there's a certain high school that will enforce the first period teacher to check the kids to make sure that they're abiding by the dress code. So as Mr. Alvarado's point is, if that child gets reprimanded at 11 o'clock, so who's held accountable? Should we hold the administration accountable? Do we hold the student accountable? Do we hold a parent accountable? Or do we hold the first period teacher accountable? And until there is a concrete dress code that we're going to enforce, I think we need to do it as a team, because I don't think it's fair for it to be to the discretion of certain administration. Secondly, I think that we have not done, and we as a whole, as a board, as administration, as a school district, have not done a good job to sit with parents and educate them about what our dress code actually is. And I think, you know, it starts at home. Me as a parent will be the first to say that it starts with me at home, and then it carries on to the student and then the teacher and the administration. Point being is, I think that we need to look at this as a whole. Another example, facial hair. There are certain programs that our kids are involved in that don't require or restrict them from having any kind of facial hair, which means that if they get into a medical program and that medical program doesn't allow them to do that, the kid is confused because he's allowed to wear it at school, yet he's not allowed to do it at this program. But there's nothing in our there's nothing that says that in our handbook. And if we're gonna start enforcing this dress code, I think that all those things need to play into account when we do a solid dress code, which means that if we know that Rio Grande Regional or DHR is not going to allow our kids that participate in their program to have hair, you know, below their neck and cannot have facial hair, then that needs to be part of our school dress code, just so it's consistent across the board. So like I said, I'm not buying, I'm selling this because I think that it strengthens our school district. It strengthens who we are. After high school, our kids will be going into the workforce, and they need to know how to dress, and they need to know the importance of what rules are. Because if I have a job that allows me and requires me to wear a tie, and I show up to work without a tie, I shouldn't be shocked when I'm sent home. But it all starts on how we prepare our students. And I don't think that school is just to learn, to teach these kids math and science. It's an institution about life, and I think this certainly would be a good step in the right direction to enforce a dress code, that we all come together and build a team. And if for some reason you would want a board member on that team, I'd be more than happy to volunteer my time.
Mr. Villa, I just have one question I forgot. I just, looking at the policy, and I just want to refresh my memory. I think I understand it, but I want to clarify. Political shirts, they are allowed by students to wear. In other words, if you're supporting a candidate, my understanding it is, you just can't pass out political information. The reason I ask it, we have a November election coming up, and if a student wears a shirt for, you know, whatever senator, because I know this came up in a school district, neighboring school district where someone was sent home. And so I thought our policy, and I was looking for it right now because I had in my notes to clarify. I think you can, but can we clarify that? And if that's not there, then we probably need to put in policy because, you know, if a child, we encourage them to go out and vote, I think they should be allowed to wear the shirt they want as long as they're not passing out, you know. We don't allow campaigning on school grounds, I get that. But our policies should state that, and I can't find it anywhere here. So just a follow-up.
We will make that clear, sir.
Okay, and if we need to, if it's not there and we need to make an adjustment, then please bring it back to the board. I'd like to vote on that, making it to our policy to one way or the other. I am selling on this one, but it's up to the board to will. I'm only one vote, so whatever the board decides at that point.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Trustees, somebody like?
Thank you, Mr. President. Just for clarity, I'm looking at policy local FNCA. And again, getting back to the school uniforms, under that, it talks about funding. And it says the superintendent shall maintain federal and local funds for the clothing needs of students who cannot afford to purchase the uniforms. Any funds donated for the purpose of purchasing uniforms shall be used only for that purpose. Are we maintaining that, and how is that accounted for in our budget when we have those funds? And how is it identified by campus, or is it identified at the district level?
At this point, it's at the campus level, so the principal's working with the administration and the parents and the PTOs, and they are providing uniforms to any student that can't afford a uniform.
And again, just for clarity, how would federal funds be made available in this instance for children that may not be able to afford certain uniforms in particular, if we designate that that campus has uniforms? Is there a grant we apply for? Is there a federal program for that?
I'm sure there's grants, but the way we would do it, we would work with Mrs. Ann Jeanette, right? Miss Ann Jeanette Garza through federal programs, and she would assist families.
Now, it does mention again in school uniforms, and this was a modification that we took after your term, rather than a complete district. We worked on isolating it to each campus, and the hope was that each campus would begin a domino effect, but as you can see, we stopped at 3 at this point. But it does say that there is an established administration regulation allowing each campus to decide whether to implement a mandatory school uniform program with prior board approval. In other words, they come up with a plan and it comes to the board, as these 3 campuses did do. Is there a way to get a chance to get a copy of that in your report of what that administration regulation is?
Sure, we can do that.
And the last question I have, Mr. President, I beg your indulgence in this, is that how much of an emphasis or an effort is being done, and I don't know if this is to you, Dr. Gonzalez, to kind of promote this? Because by and large, having had uniforms at one time, my children, it was a lot easier, a lot less expensive to do that. And it may help families, whether they may not realize it, but as the information is shared and there's resources applied, how much of that discussion is happening at the campus level? Because I'm surprised to see, you know, here we are 5 years later and really 1 elementary and 2 middle schools.
Some of the conversation we'd have with principals is just what you said. From a parent standpoint, it's a lot easier. You don't have to worry about shopping for all this different clothing. It's standardized by color per day of the week. From student standpoint, they don't feel as pressured to follow fashion and things of that sort because everybody kind of falls in line with the uniform. On the flip side, what we've heard is there is a school of thought on the whole expression of individuality through fashion and things of that sort. And so we want to try to find a happy medium where if there's a school that's willing and able to push it and push it with fidelity, that they do it well, and if not, that we have a dress code that holds to a higher standard at this point. And I agree wholeheartedly with the board that it's time to revisit. We will be setting up a committee so that we can come up with something that we all agree upon is fair and that we can implement. Simultaneously, what we can do at our next instructional leadership seminar is we can have our campuses that have uniforms at this point, Travis, Brown, and Jackson, and they can do a mini report about the benefits and how it's helped their campus. And maybe hopefully some other principals can see some benefit in that and move forward. But we do leave it up to the principal with regard to their discretion.
Any idea what the fund is right now on these 3 campuses, either in whole or in part?
No, sir, but we can find out.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. President.
Trustee Solis. Anyone else? Trustee Alicea.
I do agree that we need to update the dress code, like Birkenstocks are now something, and back then, we said you couldn't have flip-flops, and so we do need to update it to stay with the generations. But my concern isn't really the customer. To me, I don't have a problem with the principals enforcing the dress code as they are right now. Every campus has a different culture, I feel like, and I think that the principals know what to push and what not to push and what feels best on their campus. My concern is with our employees. So I would think that when we go out for this dress code and we do the modifications and we update it, if we could update our employee dress code, because I would love to see all of our employees in a uniform or something to where everybody looked professional and everybody had everything tucked in and collars and things and the right shoes. And I've seen many teachers with shoes that are out of dress code, things like that. So it would be nice if all the employees were looked at as well.
We will definitely do that. And one point I did want to make to the students in the community, if you are online right now checking it out, is that from the flip-flop standpoint, it's not necessarily the flip-flop itself, it's more the safety hazard. We found that during evacuation drills, you're walking, somebody steps on the back of your flip-flop and you fall. If you had to evacuate in a faster rate, then it's very, very difficult to evacuate a building. If you're having to walk downstairs and it becomes a hazard. So it's the safety hazard of the flip-flop that we're very concerned about. But absolutely on the staffing side, we will look at that.
Just a follow-up, I know we have those 3 schools that have mandatory. There's also some schools that have an involuntary or a voluntary program, if you include that number as well too, I think. If I remember correctly, some schools that allow you to buy shirts and what have you, so do we have any number of those schools still doing it? I know it's been a while since my kid's been in elementary, so it might have changed since then, but if that's still applicable, please include that.
Yeah, right now I know for as a parent, at my children's particular elementary school, they have a shirt that they wear on Fridays.
Right.
So that's the extent of it. Gonzales Elementary, it's Spirit Day, so they'd wear a Gonzales shirt. But we can definitely get an idea.
I'm just curious to see if
of
some
what
have
it
tried
is.
going
Yes.
voluntary.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right. Good discussion, board. Thank you, Ms. V, for your presentation this evening. And moving on to item B2, Dr. Gonzalez.
Yes, sir. Ms. V is still on deck here with regard to the presentation on college admissions and how it ties to what we're going to do moving forward with regard to feedback we received. And Ms. V, give us some information about admissions.
Yes, sir. Good evening, members of the board. Tonight, we bring you a report regarding research we conducted on how we can further support the top 10% of the senior class who choose to apply for rolling or early college admission to universities. Research has been conducted by Dr. Ibarra, Mr. Kyle Pugh standing at the deck there, Dr. De Hoyos, director of all of our counseling, high school practitioners, which include the principals, high school principals, the dean of instructions, the schedulers, the registrars, the college career specialists, lead counselors, and myself. And the research was in 3 areas, being college admission, ranking practices, and dissemination of automatic admission to institution of higher education. This research included the following meetings: college career specialists to prepare part 1 of this presentation with Dr. De Hoyos, Director of College and Counseling, and Dr. Ibarra. An inquiry of the class rank size, or the denominator we call it when we're doing the math, at McAllen High School regarding the class size of May 31st juniors promoted to seniors. And another point of research, a curriculum instruction strategic team meeting with all high school principals, deans, schedulers, registrars, college career specialists, lead counselors, Ms. Karen Nitch, Director of Advanced Academics, and Dr. Ibarra, and myself. In that presentation, the discussion was the education to the practitioners of a different type of rank that they've never seen in McAllen, which is called a grade level rank. So that was another meeting that was conducted that I can give more information on. We also consulted in this research with TEA General Counsel, TASB, and McAllen ISD General Counsel on the current ranking practices in the state of Texas. Kyle Pugh was also asked to survey districts on ranking practices. And to begin with the first part of the presentation, Dr. Ibarra will present the first part of our research regarding college admissions for rolling and early admission.
Thank you, Ms. V. Yes, so college admissions requirements and deadlines vary from university to university. And in McAllen ISD, our school counselors and our college specialists work very closely with students and their parents to inform them of admission requirements and deadlines to support them in meeting requirements and deadlines. So I'd like just to point out a couple of examples here on the screen. If we start with Texas A&M, Texas A&M has a rolling admission window from July 1st to December 1st. What this means is that the university will accept and review applications as early as the window opens, and the university also notifies students of acceptance into the university at an earlier date than those students who wait for regular admission deadline. A&M also has early decision deadline for certain programs, such as the engineering program, which is highly competitive and has many students applying for this program. This means that the university accepts application earlier than the regular admission deadline, and students are also notified at an earlier date than those who apply or wait for regular admission. Priority deadline is very similar to early admission, and it's a date set earlier than regular decision. And then regular decision is a final deadline opportunity for students to apply to the university. I would like to point out that in many cases, priority deadline and regular deadline may be the same. As you can see here from Texas A&M, the rolling admission window is July 1st to December 1st, early decision deadline October 15th, specifically for the School of Engineering. The admission and priority deadline and the regular deadline are the same, December 1st. And then we have also provided you the scholarship deadline and financial aid priority deadline. So that's one example. If we move on to UTRGV, you have here also the rolling admission window, July 1st through August 19th. The priority deadline is December 1st. The regular admission deadline is February the 1st. Moving on to UT Austin as another example, again, you have the rolling admission window, July 1st through December 1st. Their priority deadline is November 1st, and their regular admission deadline is December 1st. So it's very important that we inform our parents and our students of these deadlines because every university is different. So something else that's very, very important is House Bill 588. In Texas, we have the Texas Top Percent Law, which guarantees automatic admission to all state-funded universities for Texas students in the top 10% of their public high school class. Now, this law was later amended to allow universities to cap their admission to the top 10% students at 75% of their freshman seats, and this is due to, for those universities that have increased enrollment, such as UT, and I'll specifically discuss UT in a later slide. Now, although colleges in Texas have automatic admission or assured admission for those students who meet the criteria, the top 10% criteria, many universities also extend the admission, the automatic or assured admission to students who do not fall in the top 10%. So they can either fall in the top 25%, even the top 30%, but they have a higher ACT or SAT score. So every university sets their criteria. So just because a student doesn't graduate in the top 10% does not mean that they're not guaranteed admission. So again, it's very important that students and parents are informed of the specific criteria for assured and automatic admission. Now, and here an example is A&M, for instance. They will take up the top 25% of students who get a specific ACT or SAT scores, and that they will assure them admission. Now, it's also important to note that even though universities accept the top 10%, they do not necessarily admit them into the program of their choice. So yes, they accept them into the university, but not necessarily into the program of their choice, because again, some programs are very competitive. Now, specifically with UT Austin, as I mentioned, due to increased growth at UT Austin, the university restricts automatic admission to less than 10%. So here for the past previous few years, in the fall of 2017 and 2018, that percent was the top 7%. For the fall 2019 and 2020, that it will be restricted to the top 6%. Now, our counselors and college specialists guide students with the college admission process as early as 9th grade. There's a lot of activities, a lot of events, a lot of support that goes into helping students prepare for college admission. So it begins early in their high school career with starting with classroom and parent presentations and college requirements, GPC completed yearly, college and financial aid events, completion of career interest inventories, ensuring that they take their test, the ACT, the SAT, the TSI, of course, filling out college admission applications, writing the college essays, and applying for financial aid and scholarships. During their junior and senior year, specifically, it becomes obviously more important. And here at a glance, just as at a glance, you can see the timeline, the number of activities that are scheduled for our students in their junior year. And so again, college specialists and our counselors work diligently with our students to ensure that they meet their, first of all, they're aware of the requirements, and of course that they complete all the requirements. Moving on to the senior year timeline, you can see again that there's extensive work by the college specialists and by the counselors to support our students. And at this time, I'll turn it back to Ms. V.
All right, so I will continue with part 2 of this research, which is regarding the ranking portion. And so legal resources that I consulted, once again, is Texas Administrative Code that is hand in hand and cited in the EIC Legal. And EIC Legal, our TASB consultant, just gave us the update 111, July 18th. So probably by today, we'd see that up on the website. It is there, because they'll give you the legal update, and then they'll give you the recommended local. And so the local takes work with us and to bring to you, the board. But the legal is an automatic action, so that is up now, and that as it should be. McAllen ISD Curriculum Bulletin administrative regulation. Once again, the legal tells us what we must do with a lot of leeway on how to execute it, and the how is executed in our administrative regulation, which is called the McAllen ISD Curriculum Bulletin. Also consulted was Texas Association of School Board General Counsel and McAllen ISD in-house legal counsel. So to begin with, this is a summary of the EIC legal, and you can see the great latitude that we're given. If you see number 1, most recent available class rank based on a point in time no earlier than the end of the 11th grade shall be used for admission decision-making. The top 10% and top 25% of a high school class shall not contain more than 10% and top 25% respectively of the total class size. The student's rank shall be reported by the applicant's high school or school district as a specific number out of a specific number total class size. And 4, class rank shall be determined by the school or school district from which the student graduated or is expected to graduate. And so in the research, what we did first was I requested the letters that were sent to the parents for the last 3 years. So I went into the year of 2016, which would be the 16-17 graduating class. The next cohort, which is the 17-18 graduating class, that's 2 mistakes right there that I see. 9/29, 2017, 10/04, 2017. I apologize for that. And then the last group is the current group, which is the 18-19, that 9/13. Yes, that's correct. So with this, what we have is in the February, if you see Mac High, February 2/26, 2016. The denominator, but the denominator consists of the total students that are going to be evaluated in that calculation. So for that February, it's also known as the 5-semester rank. That includes students' work from their freshman and their sophomore, fall, spring, and summer, and their fall of their junior year. That's called the 5-semester rank. Because in TEA, the academic year of a public education has 3 semesters. It has fall, spring, and summer. So the 5-semester rank, 6-semester rank, 7-semester rank, those are terms that I could see could be very confusing.
Mrs. V, can I
Yes.
interrupt you real quick? When you're saying that, we are assuming that you have enough completed credits for you to be classified as a junior.
Yes, sir.
So if I am 3 credits short of being a junior, I would not be included
would
in this
not be in that
category, nor
denominator.
would my number be in that denominator.
That's right.
Just clarification.
The practice of McAllen ISD since ranking began is what we call a pure grade level denominator. So the students that are tallied in that total must have the credits, and I'll show that in the administrative regulation.
Also, I'm going to assume that, Mr. Pugh, I think you can confirm that the surrounding districts would do that as well.
Yes, and we have in our survey, we can show that in the surveys. So if you see Mac High 521, that was a 5-semester rank showing their freshman, sophomore, and junior fall semester. That same group of kids in 9/9/2017, now they're seniors, now they're in their fall semester. That denominator is 457. So you see it decrease. So you watch that for the 3 years, you can see that when the students, the denominator of when we release it in the spring to close off their fall semester of their junior year, that denominator is pure who have the credits to be classified a junior. Our practice, when it becomes the 6-semester rank, is, if you see that denominator go smaller, it must have the credits to be a senior. So those are the only students tallied in that denominator. So you can see that for 3 years, that trend decreases. Yes, ma'am.
I'm sorry to interrupt. I just don't want to lose my train of thought.
Yes, ma'am.
I got confused. We were
Okay.
talking about the early admissions into the UT, A&M, and UTRGV, so applying it in July 1st. So that's based on your junior ranking, but this is talking about your senior ranking, right?
It's two things.
Okay.
The February 26, if you see that, let's go down to the bottom, the most recent. So in blue, Mac High 3/9/2018. The denominator at that point, I believe it was released, well, it tells you March the 9th. The denominator would be the students who have enough credits to be in the 11th grade. And we have that credit range in our administrative regulation, which I can show you in the next slide. So that one is not the determination of top 10% at that point.
But
The one,
I'm sorry, I keep
Yes.
interrupting. But at the point that at the point of you applying in July to make the early July 1st admission to UTRGV, UT, or ATM, or Aggies, A&M, sorry, you use your junior year ranking.
Yeah.
So it's two separate things that we're talking about here. Am I making sense?
I understand,
Yeah,
and
so-
we
so-
see that practice.
Yeah, so I think the question that everybody was having was not your senior class ranking, not your top 10% for your senior year, but your junior year class ranking.
Right.
For the purposes only of being top 10% to be automatic admission,
That's
not
right.
your senior ranking.
Right.
Okay.
So if we,
Before you go off on this, I just want to clarify too, using the Mac High example, March 9, 2018, you have
Yes, sir.
579, and then you go to 512
Yes, sir.
for a lot of reasons. Those are students that don't have senior credit, so they drop down.
right.
Okay, so at what point do they come back up?
So at that 9/13 release in September, that's exactly what our research that we'll show in the subsequent slides. Our research was looking at those practices, like what you're saying, Miss Debbie, that could we consider another practice beside the practice that we've had? And the practice we have for that automatic admission to top 10%, it is a practice that has included the fall, the spring,
Right,
May 31st, and even the summer.
so.
They must have the administrative regulation according to the practice we're doing.
Right.
Because we're given latitude. There's not legal policy to tell us no or yes. It's the execution of the way that it's been interpreted. So the practice has been that denominator for early admission, for rolling admission, early admission, our denominator is what we call a pure senior. They must have 20 credits or higher to be in that denominator.
So the couple things I wanted to clarify on that. So it definitely is beneficial for a student to apply early, because if you're including 579 under that. So if you're in the top 10%, you apply early, you have a higher number of students that you're competing with, so it's a wider range. If you wait till later on you apply, that number drops. So this has happened, and I don't want to use anybody but my own personal experience.
Right.
I've got the report saying, okay, you're in the top 10 early, and then I get it again, well, what happened? You dropped. How'd you drop so much? It's not that she dropped, it's that the number of students
Right.
that are being calculated went out the window. And I think that's where there's a lot of confusion. It just dawned on me that that's what's happening, or what happened to both my kids. And I didn't really understand it until I saw it right now. So I'm having a hard time. I'm sure parents don't understand. So we definitely, and it just, you and I spoke, but it's taken me to see this again to understand
Yes.
that's what's happening.
Yes.
And so that's what's causing a lot of the issues. My personal thought is, I tell my child, every time, every homework assignment counts, every quiz counts. So I think they should be competing with everyone in their class, instead of dropping out the kids that are behind. And that's just, I'm going way ahead. But I can understand now, and I'll stop here because I know there's a lot to report. That's why this is complicated.
Yes.
If I can interject though, so I'm of the opposite, though. I feel like we should be competing with all the other school districts. So if every school district is using the junior year ranking and it stops at May, and they use that class population, and we're using the class population from September, we're doing our students a disservice because that number dropped, is the way that I see it. And because it happened to me too, it happened to my child as well. We were automatic admission if we had applied in June, but we waited until the senior rankings came out, and then we lost that automatic ranking.
We're saying the same thing, actually.
Yeah.
We have the misconception that we're doing it different from other districts. Can I get, Mr. Pugh, I know you,
I'm talking about the junior ranking, not senior ranking, yeah. I just think there's a confusion on that part.
I'd like to know, before we move on to June, because I know there's a lot to report, but I want to do it in stages, if it's okay with you. Ms.
I just wanted to clarify, the first column that you see, that it releases, if you see Mac High 579, March the 9th, that work is encompassing, it's called the 5-semester rank, and that work is not the top 10%.
Right.
That work shows the work of their 9th, 10th, and 11th fall only. So that denominator, it's true, Miss Debbie, that you say it's the 11th grade, but it is not the finished one. So what I presented to the high school, if you could take it back the other way. What I presented to the high school was this. I presented the difference of a grade level ranking right at May 31st. So could we go so I can show them the different practices?
Before you go off that, so what are the colleges, are they evaluating off to 5?
No.
No.
So they're waiting till?
It has to be the 6th semester
end of
rank.
the 11th
So I noticed in the last 2-3 weeks, kids are putting on, that they're being accepted into
Right.
the schools that we discussed. So what are they, you're telling me they're getting it, they're waiting till the 6th?
So the 6th semester rank that released September 10th.
That's what they're evaluating.
That was what they were waiting for.
Okay.
And now
That
they're
makes sense.
participating in their rolling or their early admission.
Okay.
And so that was the first
So
part.
the 5 that has no bearing on their
No.
missions as
The
far as.
5 is not the top 10%. Because it's not the complete compass of the work. The work has to include the policy, and there it is again. Most recent available class rank based on a point in time no earlier than the end of the 11th grade shall be used for admission decision-making. So like Ms. Debbie says, do we stop at May 31st? And so when I said that I did that research at Mac High, I did one. I wanted to do it because it's a lot of work. So I said, Mac High, I have an inquiry on if we were to close you at May 31st with the practice that McAllen does, which is 20 credits, clean it. So they went and they took the graduating juniors from the 5-7, at May 31st, the ADA for McAllen High School was 566. So that 5 semester was 579. May 31st, the ADA who was enrolled in the 11th grade, May 31st at Mac High was 566. From that 566, the research, the inquiry that I asked Mac High to do, the dean, the registrar, the principal, the lead counselor, I said, give me what that denominator would be if we closed it May 31st, no summer work. So they closed it May 31st, but with the practice that we have. So the practice that we have is the end of the junior year. The administrative regulation that has been in place is you must have 20 credits.
Right.
Okay? So when they got rid of the kids who failed, that had less than, the 566 that had less than 20 credits because they failed something, they got rid of the code kids that if they skip too many classes, code makes you deny the credit even though they passed. And then if you get rid of the graduating juniors that were in that 566, but they graduated with the seniors because they had enough credits and they can, the denominator was,
Stop right before you keep going. What about the seniors that didn't graduate? Does that go back to that number?
Part of that number. Part of that number.
It's part of that number. Right, because they're not
Right.
senior, okay, got it. Keep going.
so that denominator equaled 509. So from the 579 to do a pure senior rank,
Pardon me, I think he asked a question that
Okay.
If they were in their fourth year of high school and they didn't graduate, you still hold them back into that denominator?
If they're in their,
That's what he asked. That's
if
very
they're
valid
in the
point.
fourth year and May 31st, they had 20 credits,
No, I think 24.
Let's say they have 23 credits.
23, and they are classified seniors because they have 20, they would be in that denominator.
Yes.
Because it's not the cohort, it's the administrative regulation of the credits.
Is 20 credits 6 semesters?
So could you go to
Yes.
the next slide where it
20
shows the
To
administrative
advance
regulation?
you have to-
There it is, Ms. Debbie. So this is our administrative regulation, and so that's the range of credits. And so the 6th semester rank, if we, at 579, the 5 semester rank, which is only to the fall, but then we're submitting to automatic admission the 6th semester rank. So if we were to stop at May 31st with a 20 credit pure list at Mac High, that 579 would have been 509.
One more question.
Yes, sir.
So why do we give out the March ranking to begin with? I think it confuses people, right?
Because it's
I understand it's like, you're here, you're so close
it
to
helps
this.
them pace, maybe.
Okay, like, can we put it in really big, bold letters? This is not an official ranking, so that it doesn't mislead parents in thinking that,
Because the 5 semester rank,
You put preliminary on anything prior
Yes.
to the official anyway.
can we put
Are
it
we doing
larger?
that in the March? And I'm sorry to interrupt.
No,
Mr.
no.
Brown, excuse me. But I thought we were using the word preliminary, and anything other than the final, which is in February of the senior year,
Right.
is the final ranking.
because even this 6th semester rank that was released September 10th, that, because of automatic admission, that's going to be honored. But the 7th semester rank that includes the fall of the senior year, they're in session right now. So in January, when we release that rank, that is the official top 10. So it has happened that some slip off, but it's still honored because that early admission, that 6th semester rank, they grabbed it. But the 7th semester rank, if someone slipped off, but they came back on, they're the official top 10.
Quick question, if I may, does TEA or someone verify that all school districts are submitting the correct numbers for rankings?
Again, we went to council on TEA to say the academic year, and the academic year, they say, is accountability-wise, fall, spring, summer. But the legal policy does not define or dictate the definition of the denominator and does not dictate it should stop May 31st or it should stop after August 31st. It gives a lot of leadway to the districts to
Let me ask you a
execute.
question, same question in a different way.
Yes, sir.
If you go back to the previous slide, the 3 colors of that one, is that verifiable for all school districts? Does every school district submit those numbers? That you could say that everyone is submitting the same way of calculating class rank?
Mr. President, the information does get submitted to the state in the form of team submissions 1 and 3, as far as current grade levels and things like that. As far as the class ranking is the standardized practice, and as far as weighted average or the average used. In terms of when the cutoff date is or when they use certain dates as triggers to start the class ranking process, my survey reveals that there are some different practices which we'll get into later in the process.
Because I always hear that some school districts don't even rank their kids.
There are a couple of school districts that don't really rank, but they will give you a rank upon request. Class ranking is something that some districts are considering moving away from.
Yeah. All right, thank you.
Mr. President.
Trustee Saldívar.
Thank you. And that's where I was going to get at, and I'm glad you brought up that question, Mr. President, and that is the PEAMS report.
Yes, sir.
Has a formulaic in there, as you enter information into the PEAMS report, which is the Public Education Information Management System, which TEA and public education is monitored through that PEAMS report. And we have
Yes, sir.
PEAMS specialists on staff for our district, as every district would, to make sure that information is being entered valid from the various campuses. Because a teacher makes a grade, only she can enter the grade, he or she, and then the principal has to certify those grades at some point in time as they're being entered into the PEIMS report, is my understanding.
Yes.
Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And so once it's entered and the grades are entered, then there's a column in there that may list what grade they may be in. And it could say 9th, 10th, or 11th, but the credit would be very different.
Correct.
Because therefore they're staying with their cohort that they came in with, or if they came in from out of state or out of district or out of country, we then have to figure out, and initially they may be put in 11th grade because we're told they're juniors in wherever they came from, Mexico, Europe, or wherever, and then we have to look at those credits and try to weigh that and see where those credits fall in. And so they may not be a true junior. So even though PEIMS may show 11th grade, they may only have 13 hours showing in that PEIMS report on that column.
In response to your first part of the question, Mr. Salivar, there are two parts to that. One, there is the cohort which they belong to, which is part of our dropout and calculation range. And that is in the accountability manual. However, you can have kids that are either ahead of cohort or behind cohort, which is a grade level, which is how a district would define it. We define our grade levels, as you saw on page 65 of the curriculum bulletin. The district may choose to be something different.
Right.
In response to the second question, part of your question, as far as the kid coming in, say, out of the country or out of the state, we have really refined our processes, and our registrars are very good at taking the transcript, getting validation, and then putting the student's grade level in. Now, our counselors also do a very good job as far as interviewing the students, talking with them. Sometimes we actually call the home campuses to find out what a course may be or what a course may entail. I can tell you as a master scheduler during my time, I was actually given about 4 course descriptions, and I would take to my teachers saying, please tell me where this actually fits in. And once the registrar and once the counselor has made all that determination, if we need to adjust the student's schedule slightly because they may be in the wrong course at the time, we will do that. But it does not take a long period of time, as I currently understand, for the validation and the corrections and adjustments to be made in the PEIM submission. So when we submit in January the submission 1, or when we submit in June submission 3, that information is correct.
Thank you, Ms. P, for clarifying that. And that's what I was trying to get at. You come in maybe with your friends and neighbors and the like as a cohort, but once you get into a competitive environment, which high school and above is going to be,
Yes, sir.
they may find themselves, because they didn't take certain credits when they should have, changed decision on the direction, or didn't pass a course, which sometimes happens. And so that may determine now that at the end of the 11th grade, and right now we have that as what? Is it May 31st? Or
End of the summer.
end of the summer. And we made that decision as a board last year, as I recall, that ours would be at the end of the summer. Is that correct? For the 11th grade?
The practice, the legal policy just says at the end of the 11th, no earlier than the end of the 11th grade. The practice in administrative regulation, if you could take it back to that side, has been since ranking became history in McAllen, was to have that end of the junior year denominator be pure seniors. It did not stop at May 31st and include in it the retained junior or the promoted senior.
So when
It
you're-
only has the seniors.
So the point being is when you look at PEIMS and it shows 11th grade and it shows the hours completed, that's your determinant at that point in time when you
Yes.
run it, whether it's July 1 or September 1.
Yes, sir.
So it's not necessarily a date and time.
No.
It just has to be no earlier than the end of the 11th grade.
And because of the legal, they do not give you that definition. They give a lot of leeway to the district through their administrative regulation, to follow that. Another thing that I just wanted
Hold on,
to.
I want to clarify something.
Yes, sir.
He said the board. This is not a board policy. We have not voted on rankings since I've been on the board.
I believe that
When we release it, we did.
Yeah, I think when
We voted on that, we voted on those classes that
the
Hear me out.
change that happened 2 years ago
I
in the
understand that.
local policy on
Yes.
weighting the dual enrollment.
Okay, but
That's-
as far
we
as.
voted on that.
Okay,
Yes.
but as far as this,
No,
No.
is this a board policy?
no.
This is a,
It's legal policy, and we're executing it through our administrative
who
regulation,
changes it?
the
who-
superintendent.
Does it need board approval?
No.
No,
He can change it whenever
yes.
superintendent feels necessary. When's the last time it's been changed?
It's never been changed.
Okay.
Mr.
Where's
President,
the policy? I'm sorry, where's the last question, because someone asked me they couldn't find the policy. Where can they find the policy?
That policy is EIC legal, and that's just been updated in July. And that is, there's two parts. One is on automatic admission and one is on ranking. And so that number one underline, most recent available class rank based on point in time no earlier than the end of the 11th grade shall be used for admission decision-making. And so that execution of administrative regulation in this district has been that the release happens after the summer and when the senior school year begins. And that denominator, they must be classified seniors.
Okay.
I'm sorry to keep interrupting. I need to run, so I just want to get some things out. It's the leeway part that I have a problem with. I just want to make sure that we're being fair and our
Yes.
students are treated exactly like the students, you know, from Katy ISD, Fort Bend ISD. That we're all, because if there is a seat in that top 10%, I want our students to take those seats. So I want to make sure, and then I don't understand though, if our children are supposed to be applying for July 1st for those early rankings, we're always telling our kids, get out there, because you have automatic, be the first to apply, you'll get in. But if we're not giving them these rankings until September, then they can't even apply. So I don't understand why we're not using the May, I mean, I know it's gonna go on and on, but I don't understand why we don't just do the snapshot of May and close it down right then.
May I
And-
attempt?
Yeah.
Because there are juniors who don't complete their junior credits, that take classes in the summer, that will get them up to the credits they need to become seniors. And even if it's 10, you're adding 10 kids to the denominator.
But,
Actually, in your point,
But-
Mrs. Aliceta, to your point, and it's a valid point, if we were to use, the May one, the number would actually be smaller.
Right.
Because you would not have students on that last day of May that would have sufficed the 20 credit hours.
Why is the number not
But-
smaller on what she's showing us? That's what I
It
don't
is
understand.
smaller. It is
No, we'll go back, go back, go back.
It is smaller.
but
No,
it-
it's not.
I think the
May,
number's bigger.
579 it's
It's
Oh,
bigger.
no,
bigger.
But they're not,
It's-
but you can't count
But
those
that's
as
the
senior
570
denominators.
That's
But if
the-
other school
but the-
districts are counting that, if everybody else is, you know, if Fort Bend ISD is letting their their juniors apply, okay, well, July 1st is the opening period to enroll, to apply for college after
Yes,
your
sir.
junior
Yes,
year.
ma'am.
If you have 1,000 students doing that, minus all of our students, they're taking those spots, is what I'm saying. So if every school district is producing those rankings in May, and those students are applying to college July 1st, then we should be doing the exact same thing so that our students get
Yes,
those
ma'am.
spots. That's what I'm arguing.
So I just want to clarify, Mr. Alvarado, that 579, that is not the top 10% yet.
No, I understand that, but why is it dropped to 512? If they're saying it's correct that, I see why it drops, right? Because some of the juniors don't get enough credit, but then does it climb back up later?
Yes.
Yes,
It climbs up back
there
later.
are students that will regain credit to rejoin the seniors.
So they're still part of that cohort, and I guess that's kind of her argument, kind of my argument is it's competitive, and these students jump out, and I'm pushing my kid to be competitive, but you drop out that number. I can kind of see where she's coming from. If you're gonna let them back in, you might as well, it's not, my kid's fault that they fell behind or,
Right.
what have you. I mean, I'm not trying, that's the other side of the argument. That's what I hear her saying. That's what another parent, not buying and selling, just trying to get an understanding of what this is.
So if we go to the slide where it shows 4 practices, I think this helps us.
Okay?
So the current practice, because this was part of the research, just exactly what Ms. Debbie's saying, there's some, so when Mr. Pugh was charged with calling districts and polling them, which takes quite a talk, because you have to get with people that are understanding what you're asking. And so the 4 practices that were discovered were the current practice, that's McAllen ISD's practice. So if you see there, that's the release of 910. Out of the 15 districts surveyed, 4 were practicing the practice that McAllen does. And that practice is, it included the fall, the spring, and the summer, and it only had in the denominator students that have 20 credits. So it's the pure senior rank. The alternate practice number 1, and again, the only legal policy, we have it there in quotation, no earlier than the end of the 11th grade. So all practices are practices of an administrative regulation of that superintendent following that legal. So we found 2 of 15 of the districts practicing this practice, which is cut off May 31st, just like what you're saying, Mr. Alvarado, cut off May 31st, but include the summer dual enrollment work. Those students that, because they're the only ones that are not regaining. They're those dual enrollment academy kids. They're the Achieve kids. So for them to graduate in 4 years, they must work fall, spring, and summer to acquire their associate's degree. So that was the change in our local policy 2 years ago, that those students and only those students could do summer work, and it could be weighted.
That's what I was
So,
referring to.
so 2 of the 15 districts practice that the denominator are only seniors. They cut it off May 31st, so all the work can get done. And then they add, right when that summer 2 ends for dual enrollment, they add that weight. And then that rank could come out as soon as that second semester of summer is done. So I have written there release date 8/10, but I have the disclaimer, after dual enrollment. 2 of the 15 districts practice that. The next practice is 7 of 15 practice this, which is, again, following the same EIC legal, no earlier than the end of the 11th grade. Those 7 districts cut off May 31st. No summer work is included. And I didn't check with Mr. Pugh on those 7, if those 7 districts even have academy dual enrollment like we do. For example, Sherryland. Sherryland's high school kids, they stop right there May 31st, but their Achieve kids, they don't call them Achieve, they call them, or college. Those, they do their own rank, just like ours. They have their own rank and they proceed and wait. They don't stop May 31st. So that is no summer work. Do not include those dual enrollment weighted courses. Let those go in the January, and that rank could come out in July. And then the last practice, 2 of the 15, and the places said there were 2. So the first one releases in June, and it does a grade level rank where it is not just the seniors. It's the juniors that are retained and the seniors, because they stop it right at the May 31st, that ADA, who's enrolled. But then they give an official one in September, which is the senior denominator.
The one in June was called preliminary by the campus registrars.
So,
Can that number be used for admission, for application process?
I'm not sure how they're using it in those districts.
That alternate practice number 2, are they using that number
Yes.
for application, for?
The alternate practice number 1, alternate practice number 2, current practice of McAllen ISD, that is how they're executing their EIC legal with administrative regulation. It's just varying when they cut the time off.
So that's what Debbie's wanting to do, like alternate practice number 2 there, right? I mean,
But you still use the same end of the junior year denominator.
My understanding on
but
trustee.
you're not gonna, I'm sorry, but you're not gonna include, you're not gonna wait till the end of the summer to add kids in there.
You're gonna use the lowest.
And what Ito was saying, your number is saying that if we wait till September, it should go up, but it's not showing that it's going up there.
No, I mean, what we saw in that prior chart, the 5-semester rank taken just of their fall junior year, that's a big number consistently for 3 years. And by the time we do even a May 31st clean, like I did the inquiry at Mac High, the deal with us is we're only allowing, the practice is only allowing the pure senior
So-
that has the 20
So a
credits.
smaller denominator is not helping these kids,
No,
right?
that's what I'm trying to say.
Absolutely right.
So, but when they drop out of the denominator, so you don't make your credits, to be included in the senior, so you drop down to the class below you and you're ranked with them?
You're retained.
But you're ranked with them,
You're, okay.
because that's about 30 students or whatever the
Yes.
number
If
is.
by September, any student that is not in the 20 credit category with our practice,
Right.
you're not in the denominator.
So
You're not
it
ranked.
inflates the rankings for, because I think parents follow that, like I'm anxiously waiting for, rankings to be released so I can see where my kid is to see, but it's not really a true number then because you have kids that drop.
Mr. President, if I may, just one of the positions is that we want to do what's in the very best interest of, of our students. So when you get to the end of your junior year, you have a lot of students that have 19 or 19.5 credits. Our position is let's give them the summer to get that 20 credit and to be included. So some people just cut it off and say, if you made it, you made it. If you didn't, you did it. McAllen says, if you're at 19 or 19.5, you have the summer to get into the denominator. And we used to release it in October. Now we release it in September, and we're trying to come up with a game plan to release it in August 10th, maybe August 16th, a pure senior ranking, kind of a hybrid model, where we give our students time to get that credit, that 1.5 or half credit, but then we still kind of meet the parents halfway and say, well, we're going to release it in August. That's something that we're considering right now, but we want it to be senior to senior competition.
So under your example though, if you come up to your junior year, you don't have enough credits and you're giving them time, how many of those students are actually applying for college at that point?
Of the ones that don't have the credit yet?
Right, if you're behind on credits, that's where your focus is, right?
Right.
So I guess that's kind of where I'm trying to go with this is they still should be included in there because they're the goal is to get them in there, right?
Right.
And so eventually they will be competing with everyone in that cohort.
Right.
So you might as well get the snapshot at the end of May 31st with everybody.
Which is Dr. Gonzalez. and
Or am I
Ms.
missing something here?
No,
No,
you're,
no.
that.
That's an
It's
option.
it's just an opinion. I mean, it's up to you.
Exactly what you're saying is alternate practice number one.
Right, or,
And even alternate practice
Practice
number
number
two,
two.
which is that we would stop all the work May 31st and calculations, because of, and it takes a while to clean that. You have to find out who's retained, and, because you're looking for a pure, so you remove the retained, and that rollover to 12 stays 11, and so they're not in it. You take the graduating juniors out of there, and so you clean. And it would not include the summer work. That's that alternate practice number one and number two. So when do those students that are retained catch up? Well, you hope by the January rank, the official last 7th semester, if they've caught up and they have 20 credits by that January, they're in that denominator.
So I have a question, because I know it affects, every practice will affect a certain kids, and it could be that McAllen ISD has more people in dual enrollment and in summer courses than other high schools or in other districts, so, and I'm sure y'all plugged in the numbers to see if we were to do what we currently do versus the other practices. Which is the most beneficial to our kids? And it's not a trick question, I mean, it's black or white, I mean, we can talk about how everybody else does. What's important to me is what's important to the kids in McAllen ISD, not what everyone else does around us. What's important to us and what's our best practice for our kids. So doing that, what is the best practice for our kids?
The best practice would be to get to where we are competing senior to senior like we are now, but not waiting all the way to September to releasing in August 10th to August 16th.
And that is the consensus, and I see a couple of principals here, and I see Mr. Hoy is here. Is that you're not allowed to speak right now, but you can nod your head and, thumbs up is good, Albert. Okay. Well, okay.
Because the whole thing is we used to release in October, we backed it up to September, now we can back it up to August 10th through 16th.
Right.
it's still senior to senior.
Right,
So it's
'cause
a hybrid model of what
We
we're
can talk
doing.
until we're blue in the face,
Right.
and it doesn't matter, because that's what surrounding districts do is not what we do at McAllen ISD, and the dual enrollment and the number of kids that we have involved is very different from everyone else. So my recommendation to the superintendent, because it's your decision on what to do, is to do what's in the best interest of the kids at McAllen ISD. So.
If I may, Mr. Please. Thank you. Everything that's been said makes a lot of sense, but I think when a board starts to getting involved and with the superintendent's purview, and it's very clear in board policy that it's all on the superintendent, and any board member individually or as a group that begins to influence that puts us in dire situations going forward for this reason. And we haven't heard from legal counsel, but we have to be cognizant of the fact that one could argue either way of this. But one thing that has been good for McAllen ISD, by and large, is that we've been consistent in this area. You know, I'm one for innovation and for change and et cetera, but not for the purpose of just change. And in the fact that we've been consistent, unlike other districts, they've been into litigation when they start messing with this area of ranking. Because someone's gonna see a monetary loss that if they were on a certain rank at some point and they weren't in another. So I'm interested in where we, you know, if we're gonna do this, our position has always been that it comes in with a cohort, their freshman year, next year. If we make any variance to this, the fact of the matter, we already passed August 2nd, so for this year, it's no harm, no foul. From what I'm hearing is the superintendent's inclination to stay with the current, but bring in the time frame. So in reality, we haven't. So I wanna be clear on that we're, from the superintendent's standpoint, we have not changed how we rank individuals in this district. It's just the time frame for releasing the information now being in August versus October or September.
Yes, and I did want to point out that this is just a discussion at this point.
Okay.
This is open to modifying with regard to the administration moving forward. Right now, we're comfortable with a fair and honest process that we have with the release in September. But in listening to the community, the vibe that we're getting is, can we get it sooner? So we don't want to jeopardize the quality or the fairness of our system, but we also want to listen to the consumer to say, can we get it a little bit sooner? And in talking to the team, we're seeing, is it humanly possible to get a quality ranking out that's fair and honest in August?
Well, I would hope, and I'm sure you will, is that, review it with legal counsel, that it's not causing any variance. Because there are always winners and losers when you make a significant change here. And if you're already in the 11th hour, you're preparing to go. And I feel those folks' pain, because sometimes a child, like you said, you gotta work it through. And sometimes that freshman year, or the spring of their junior year, something happens. And suddenly they went from the top 10% to 11 or 12. It happens. But you also have variables that we have no control of. Individuals coming into the country. I had calls from several folks this summer that were moving into this country. And then, of course, you have out of state and out of district. And those are variables that come into play as well. So as close as we can stay to clear and being fair and balanced and equitable, and can be easily explained and administered as we've going back to go forward, the better off we are. Because we change it too much from the past, we're going to have problems into the future with litigation. Am I looking at it?
I think you're right also, Sam. I think we should just probably listen to the report and then have,
Just a perspective.
taking my own advice.
I could be wrong.
This is good information, Noah, that you're sharing with us.
Thank you, Ms. B. And I know you did a lot of research on this, and you had a lot of help, and we appreciate all the work you've done and giving us this information, and also getting it out to the community, because we have all had lots of calls on this. We certainly appreciate you getting this.
Are we finished on slides?
There's just a third part. There was the first part early,
That's
the second part
I was leading into
Very
the
brief.
next item already.
That's why I say what I say.
Yes.
That was a cue. That was a cue. Go ahead.
It's on the SharePoint, so
and
we gotta cover it.
it's on, I pass it back to Beautiful, Dr. Ibarra.
Thank you. And it's very, very brief. And you mentioned, Mr. Alvarado, the importance of informing parents and students on the importance of the top 10% rank. And so EIC Legal, which was updated July 2018, the original update came out in 2014, but it was recently updated, and this is specifically on the dissemination of information to students and parents. So the requirement is that a district shall provide each student at the time the student first registers for one or more classes required for high school graduation with written notification concerning automatic college admission, the curriculum requirements for financial aid under Education Code Title III, and the benefits of completing the requirements for automatic admission and financial aid. It further goes on to say that the board shall require each high school in the district to post appropriate signs in each school's counselor's office, in each principal's office, and each administrative building on the substance of the automatic admission. So in essence, it's saying, please make sure that your parents and students are informed of the automatic admission provisions. And furthermore, it specifies a timeline. It says not later than the 14th day after the last day of classes for the fall semester, provide each senior student eligible under section 51.003 and each student enrolling in a junior year of high school who has a grade point average in the top 10% of the student's high school class and the student's parents or guardian with a written notification of the student's eligibility with this detailed explanation in plain language of the substance of section 51.803, which is, of course, automatic admission provisions. So here in McAllen ISD, the practices that we follow to disseminate information pertaining to this policy are the following. It begins as early as the 9th grade year during re-registration presentations, during student advising conferences, during grade level presentations, during top 10% presentations, parent meetings, and we will continue to disseminate information pertaining to this policy. For the 2018-2019 school year, for this school year, we will send out an information letter with the commissioner's statement to eligible junior and senior students, inclusive of their parents, and will secure receipt of their notification no later than November 1st. Starting with the 2018-2020 school year, we will include the commissioner's statement in our junior and senior rank letters and will obtain receipt of parent and student signatures from eligible students at that point. So these are the practices that we are implementing as of now to ensure that our parents and our students are very well informed of the admission, automatic and assurance for the top 10% of our students. And that concludes our report.
Thank you, Dr. Ibarra. What I said a few minutes ago.
Mr. Vela, I wanted to thank the campus people, the principals, the deans, the schedulers, lead counselors, college career specialists, also Ms. Karen Nitsch, our Director of Advanced Academics, our Director for overall the counseling, Dr. De Hoyos, because it's to prepare and research, because we pushed hard to respond to the community's concerns and to research, but to research it does involve a lot of work for them as they're still conducting their normal business. So I thank them for the long hours and the effort that they put forth, the open mind that they had to continue to want to do better for the kids. So I just really want to thank them.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kyle, for the
Mr.
research. I
Pugh
know Mr. Pugh put in some hard work.
Absolutely.
And
Mr.
even as
Cobb.
succinctly and completely as you explained it and put the information together, it's still hard for some people to understand. It takes a long time. But
Why are you looking at me, sir?
I wasn't looking at you. I should have been, but I wasn't. All right, thank you. Next item on the agenda will be item 8B3. Dr. Gonzalez.
Yes, sir. We're proud to announce that McAllen ISD was awarded this grant that Mr. Trevino is going to be sharing with us with regard to the recent grant that we received. So, Mr. Trevino, tell us all about it.
Good evening, members of the board and Dr. Gonzalez. I will be presenting the report on the Fresh Fruit Vegetable Program grant that was awarded to McAllen ISD. On the we have elementary campuses across the country that are invited to apply for this grant, 298 sites in 55 districts in Texas. The application requires collaboration for health and nutrition, which we do have in our board policy along with our Alliance for a Healthier Generation. The district submitted applications in April and was awarded in the month of August. It just recently funded the first week of October. The grant assists with during the day snack, especially pre-K through first. Preference is given to community involvement, farm to school, field trips, presenters from grocery stores, farmers, and distribution centers. McAllen ISD, a little bit of history on our district. McAllen ISD began receiving invitations to apply back in the spring of 2015. For the year 2015 and 2016, 11 schools were awarded, taking in 6,233 students were participants in this grant. 16-17, we had 6 campuses that were awarded with 3,257 students that participated in the grant. In 2017-18, 10 schools were awarded with 5,578 students participating. And in 18-19, currently we have 8 schools that were awarded that will have 5,008 students participating in the grant. The grant program, how it works is at 2 p.m. daily to all of our enrolled students at the prospective campuses. We have, during the instruction, nutrition information is sent to all teachers with interesting facts, and all fruits and vegetables are all pre-cut by our child nutrition department. And what is offered is grapes, watermelon, dragon fruit, prickly pear, purple carrots, baby kiwis, mango, melons, berries, beets, and sticks. Here we have some of the pictures of some of our students, and we've included also some letters that were sent by some of the students to our child nutrition director, Ms. Molina, and some of the other letters get sent to our principals. One important fact here is that over the last 4 years, the grants have totaled, over $800 and some odd $1,000 that the district has benefited from applying for this grant. And this pretty much concludes our report.
Thank you, Mr. Trevino. Does anyone have any questions or comments for Mr. Trevino on this item?
No, sir.
Thank you.
Well questioned out, Mr. Trevino. You got off. Thank you very much.
That's a great program.
Yeah. Item 8B4, Dr. Gonzalez.
Yes, sir. Ms. Richards will present the monthly financials for August 2018. This item is for information purposes only. Ms. Richards.
Yes, thank you, Dr. Gonzalez. Good evening, Mr. Vela and board members.
Good evening.
Today I'll be reporting on the financial report for August 31st, 2018. The year-to-date revenues are $7,528,148. And the year-to-date expenditures are $15,380,360. This is resulting in expenditures over revenues of $7,852,212. Now I'll be moving on to the monthly investment report. Our beginning market value is $97,888,775. The ending market value is $97,560,698. And the average yield to maturity for the period is 1.923%. As we look at our portfolio, we're going to notice that the district is diversified within the various market sectors, beginning with Lone Star, Texpool Prime, agencies, and Frost Bank. And the year-to-date total earnings are $294,781.44. And that concludes my report.
Thank you, Ms. Richard. Anyone have any questions or comments?
Nope.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank
Dr.
you.
Gonzalez, moving on to item 8B5. Right,
Let me see.
we did that.
Okay, yes, sir. Ms. Richards will report on the monthly taxes collected by the Hidalgo County Tax Office on behalf of McAllen ISD for August 2018.
Thank you, Dr. Gonzalez. The amount collected for August was $481,653.08. The year-to-date collections are $809,821.60. And the collection percentage for delinquent taxes is 11.79%, very comparable to last year's rate. And that concludes my report.
Thank you, Ms. Richards. Questions or comments? Anyone?
No.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Moving on to items 9. These are items that we discussed in closed session. Item 9A, Dr. Gonzalez.
Yes, sir. Human Resources is submitting a list of recommendations under separate cover for discussion during closed session, and we are requesting action on this item.
Move to approve.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve the recommendations. Any discussions or comments? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries 5-0. 9B, Dr. Gonzalez.
Yes, sir. Human Resources is submitting a list of resignations for the 2018-2019 school year under separate cover for discussion during closed session. This item is for information only.
Thank you, Dr. Gonzalez. Item number 9C, this will be, that's my item.
Yes, sir.
My item, approval of summative evaluation of the superintendent. I can report that the board undertook 2 very good sessions of discussions. We visited with Dr. Gonzalez at length about a list of evaluation standards that we've gone over and developed over the years. We had good banter back and forth, good discussion, good suggestions by the board. Then we went into closed and we evaluated the performance based on those standards. Everyone was given an opportunity to submit their score sheet, if you will. Those score sheets were turned in and tabulated. I looked at the tabulations as they were being done, and they were very correct as far as I could see. Everyone submitted comments. All of those comments were included also in the evaluation process, whether it be keywords, and if there was any questions about those, we had a chance to verify with the particular person that submitted a comment. We were all given the opportunity to go by and review the final document before it's being presented here tonight to be sure that their tabulations, their scores, their comments, whatever it was, is as accurate as possible. And having said that, I'll open it up to the board to see if anyone has any comments or questions before we approve or move to approve the summative evaluation of the superintendent. Any questions or comments? Hearing none.
I'll move that we approve the superintendent's performance summative appraisal instrument of Superintendent J. Gonzalez.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve the summative evaluation of the superintendent. Any further comments or discussions? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries, I'm sorry, same sign, nays, same sign, motion carries 6-0. Thank you very much, board, appreciate it. Thank you, Dr. Gonzalez. At the end of this meeting, we'll be signing it, and we will present it to you and for your review and storekeeping. All right?
Yes, sir.
Mr. President, if I may, I'd like to thank you for taking the board through this process over a period of 2 weeks and serving as a conduit of exchange of ideas and thoughts and perspectives, so that it culminated with an instrument that provides direction for the superintendent. It also gives him the accolades that he well deserves for what he's been able to achieve this year. I mean, A district in 4 different areas, 2 years in a row, post-secondary readiness. No district had done both of those at the same time anywhere in the state, to the point where the Commissioner of Education called Dr. Gonzalez to congratulate him. But to Dr. Gonzalez during our meetings, consistently was expressing to the administration, his campus, his leadership, cabinet, and the leadership in the various schools, the principals, system principals, and more importantly, each and every teacher and what they're doing each and every day for every student, culminated with the accolades that you get credit for in your instrument, which is well-deserved in your leadership. And again, I appreciate both of you gentlemen working together to help the board along during this process. Thank you.
Thank you, trustee Saldívar. Trustee Suarez.
I want to echo the words of trustee Saldívar. I think that if there's somebody that gives credit to their staff is the gentleman up here. And we've always believed that you're only as good as your help, and that's something that I think the district, as board members, agree with the superintendent, is that where we're at because we're a team. And so I applaud all of y'all's efforts and hard work.
In my comment, just I want to applaud you, Dr. Gonzalez, for being open, because while we did celebrate a lot of success, there are things that the board and you felt that we need to work on, because when you educate kids, you can never be satisfied, right? You always want to push, and that's what I want, you know, just to reinforce that, or actually thank you, is this document that we use is what drives us as a team. It's our playbook, to use your words as a former coach, and anyway, it's something that we take seriously, so that's why it's taken some while to really give you the feedback. I know we all spent time going through the instrument and adding to it, and then, you know, with some of the concerns, or some of the opportunities, not concerns, some opportunities we have as a district moving forward, that they will be captured in the new evaluation, so thank you.
Mr. President, if I may,
Dr. Gonzalez.
I would like to take this opportunity to thank you, our board president, Mr. Vela. Thank you for your leadership and through this process. Also to the entire board, I do want to let the community know that the board holds us to a very high standard, but also provides us with the support that we need to meet those standards. So I want to thank you all for the vision. Thank you all for always being there for us. And I say us, the entire community. And to all the students and the teachers out there that did all the great work, and the principals out there, the executive leadership team, it is commendable, all the accolades, and it doesn't happen without a lot of hard work day in and day out. But to this board, this diverse board that holds us to a very high standard, I say thank you, and we will meet the challenges as we move forward.
I think it was all made possible by the cooperation of the board. I think everybody came to with a positive attitude that we were going to get through this. We were going to provide positive feedback, work together as a team, and provide a document that would lead us going forward, and not only to recognize your accomplishments, but also to, like they said earlier, to guide you through the difficulties and the opportunities that we have in the future. Again, congratulations to the board, and thank everybody for working hard and becoming available for this instrument to come through. Thank you, guys. Having said that, all those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries 6-0. Or did we already vote on it?
Yeah,
We already voted.
You know what?
Let's make it official.
It's a 12-0. Thank you, guys. We'll just skip next year's. How about that?
Yes, sir.
All right. Hey. Steve just fell over in his seat. Items 9D, Dr. Gonzalez, I'm sorry, Mr. Crane.
No report on D or E.
Thank you, Mr. Crane, appreciate that. Items 10, consent agenda items. Dr. Gonzalez, there's 2 items. There's an explanation
President?
on both. Yes, sir, Mr. Suarez.
I'd like to make a motion to approve items 10A and 10B.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve both consent agenda items 10A and C. Any discussions or comments? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries 6-0. Items number 11, instructional services, instructional leadership, human resources, district operations, business operations, and board of trustees items. Dr. Gonzalez.
Yes, sir. We are on C2.
Right.
Yes.
So a walkthrough has been conducted of the camera upgrade project at McAllen High School with staff from Superior Alarms, our district facilities, maintenance and operation department, the police department, and engineer. And staff has certified the request for final payment since all the items listed on the punch list have been completed by the contractor. We are requesting action on this item.
So move.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any comments or questions on this item?
I have a question.
Trustee Forina.
Mr. Trevino, we are up to par. Everything is as promised at Mac High?
Yes, sir. The walkthrough was conducted. FMO, our representatives from our engineering firm, Heffen Associates, along with PD, Mr. John Montemayor, along with Chief Esquivel, conducted the walkthrough with Captain Silva, and everything is up to par on this project.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you.
Just a follow-up, if a camera breaks down in McAllen, who's following up? Is it Superior or is it your staff internally?
These cameras currently are under warranty.
Okay, they're under warranty.
Yes, sir.
And the last question, are they linked to the master
Video
hub?
board.
I don't know what the word is that we have.
Yes, they are linked to our video wall
Okay.
that we currently have at our police department currently. And the video wall monitors are being able to view all different cameras at all times of the day.
Thank you, sir.
Question.
Trustee Esparza.
Ruben, are these additional cameras or are these replacing the ones that were there?
This is a completely new system, sir. This was about approximately 134 cameras that have been installed that are now fully operational at McAllen High School.
And the cameras that we bid are the cameras that we got,
Yes, sir.
received,
Yes, sir.
and installed? Okay.
I'm sorry, you said 134?
134 approximately.
So we used to have, 40? Or is that,
I don't have that number with me, but
it seems like an increase. That's great.
Okay, item 10C2.
Did we vote? I don't think we
No, we
voted on
haven't.
it.
We have, looking for a motion.
You have a motion and a second.
And a
Still,
second.
Mr. President.
All those in favor of the item signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries 6-0. Dr. Gonzalez, C3.
Yes, sir. A walkthrough has been conducted of the parking lot improvement projects at Jackson and Escandona Elementary Schools with staff from 2GS Construction and the district's Facilities Maintenance and Operation Department and engineer. Staff has certified the request for final payment since all items listed on the punch list have been completed by the contractor, and we are requesting action on this
So
item.
moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. We approve this item. Any comments or questions?
I've got a question real quick.
Trustee Esparza.
Ruben, on these parking lots, I noticed there was a change order, a decrease in cost of about 27,000, but on the itemized list, it looks like, did they do the striping and everything? Because was that included, or is that why they didn't do it, and that's why they saved?
there
us?
was some additional striping that was done that we requested, and we went ahead and had the contractor do it so that everything could be aligned through the engineer and the contractor. And that additional striping was on the west side, where we came in and repoured concrete for the drive pickup zone.
But there was a decrease, I'm not saying it was. a
Yes,
decrease.
there was a decrease. We had two contingencies that we did not use, and we had some additional credits on lime stabilization that tested well that we did not use.
Okay.
So we keep that money back.
And so, but they did everything that they were supposed to, the
Yes, sir.
striping, everything,
Yes,
they put the
everything-
parking, those
everything
curb
was
stops in
completed.
place and everything.
Any more questions or comments?
Good work, Mr. Trevino. Get that money back.
Thank you.
All right, all those in favor of the item signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries 6-0. Dr. Gonzalez, we're going on to a 10D1.
Yes, sir. Administration is recommending the approval of the September budget amendment for the 2018-2019 fiscal year. We are requesting action on this item.
So moved.
Is there a second? Second. It's been moved and seconded that we approve this item. Any comments or questions? All those in favor of the item signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Motion carries 6-0. Dr. Gonzalez, moving on to 10D2.
Yes, sir. The district utilizes this bid to purchase products to be served to students for incentives or campus celebrations, staff development meetings, and for resale at district concessions. We are requesting action on this item.
So moved.
It's been moved. Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we accept this item. Let the record reflect that trustee Suarez will be abstaining from this item, and he will provide the affidavit. Any comments or questions on this item? All those in favor of the item signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries 5-0.
1.
501.
Yes,
You
sir.
guys always get that.
It's okay.
Trustee,
That's why you have us.
that's why you all are here, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Item number 12, schedule of future meetings. A, October 22nd, 2018, special board meeting at 4 PM in the boardroom. October 22nd, regular board meeting at 5 PM, also in the boardroom. October 22nd, a special board meeting at 6:15, also in the boardroom. There's no reason to go into closed session. this time, I would entertain a motion to adjourn. It's been moved. Is there a second?
Second.
Been moved and second that we adjourn. All those in favor of the item signify by saying aye.
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 Motion carries 5-0. Thank you all. Good
6-0,
meeting.
sir.
Appreciate you guys. Thank you all.
Mr. President, it was 6-0.